Alright, also look, welcome back to the channel, and man oh man, what a time to be alive. UFC 300 has now concluded, and man, what an absolutely spectacular event put on by the UFC. UFC 300 absolutely delivered from top to bottom. Best UFC card to date, hands down. And in this video, I'm going to be taking a speed run full card breakdown on the UFC's full card. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share so you can help me reach 1,000 subscribers by May. I'll deeply appreciate you. And make sure you join the official UFC Discord, link in the description. So first things first, whoever told Dana White to up the bonus from 50k to 300k was an absolute genius, because Jesus Christ, what a night of fights. But I've got something I want to get off of my chest real quick. I went 8 for 13 on picks on Saturday night, as well as placed a 13-leg parlay thinking I could see into the future or something. This just goes to show, never bet on MMA. Number 2, never bet on guys coming back from injuries. I mean, I didn't, but I know some guys who did and basically lost their entire life savings. And third, Cody Garbrandt, you absolutely suck. Which takes us into the video with the first fight of the night, that being Cody No Chin Garbrandt versus Deiveson Figueiredo. And yes, his name is no longer Cody No Love. It's Cody No Chin. I had Cody winning by either first or second round KO or TKO, but Deiveson Figueiredo goes out there and wins via second round rear naked choke. But let's be frank, Cody was looking really good in the early stages of that fight with his fast jabs that were landing on Figgy, as well as his kicking game, which seemed pretty on point. And it was clear as day that Cody No Love had the speed advantage going into that fight with him and Deiveson Figueiredo. He also threw a cartwheel kick that came out of left field that he almost got punished for tremendously, but it ended up not doing any type of significant amount of damage. And afterward, Figgy just spammed takedowns on Cody, but I'd overall give that first round to Cody Garbrandt. The second round was an all Figgy round, with Cody ending up giving him his back and tapping afterward, not only losing himself the fight, but killing all hopes for a second title run, as well as killing my 13-leg parlay before the event can even start for real. And dude, I even made a whole exclusive video on Cody Garbrandt before UFC 300 talking about how good he actually was and how maybe, just maybe, he could have a second title stint. No wonder the video ended up not doing so well. Moral of the story, never bet on Cody Garbrandt, period. Next up, we had Bobby Green versus Jim Miller. I had Bobby Green by either third round TKO or unanimous decision, and he ends up winning by unanimous decision. This was absolute beatdown central on Bobby's part. He was beating the absolute brakes off of Jim Miller. And granted, it was a little bit contentious at the beginning of the fight, but as the rounds went by, Bobby just continued to rev up and applying volume, and we low-key have to give it to Jim Miller because he showed insane amounts of heart on Saturday night, because at the end of that fight, Buddy looked like he just got slammed by an 18-wheeler moving at 75 miles per hour. But props to Jim Miller for being an absolute warrior, but at the same time, I feel like he should have retired at the end of that fight, but it's whatever. Next up on the card, we had Jessica Andrade versus Marina Rodriguez, and initially I had Jessica Andrade winning by any decision, and she ends up winning by split decision. I wasn't watching the fight for the entire time. I just knew that Jessica Andrade showed some grit and tenacity that should have ended up winning her all 3 rounds. Next up on the card, we have Jalen Turner versus Renato Moicano, and I had Jalen Turner winning by either second round KO or unanimous decision, and he ended up going over there and losing by TKO in the second round. Oh my god, Jalen Turner, you bona fide dumbass. Because I honestly think they should cut your dumbass for that bullshit you pulled, because what the fuck? First round was flawless. Drops Renato with the left 2 badly. Could have TKO'd him if he applied any type of pressure. But you know what this praying mantis looking thing does? He starts walking off thinking Renato Moicano is out cold. He thought his ass was getting the 300k bonus. Little does he know, Renato Moicano was still up. He was dazed, but he was still awake, and the ref tells him to keep going. Second round, Renato Moicano takes him to the ground, and Jalen Turner is gassed. Eventually, he gets up to full mount and just starts hammering on Jalen Turner. No diddy. Ends up getting the second round TKO. Jalen Turner, you absolute scumbag. Not only were you doing this for yourself on the biggest UFC event to date, but you were also doing this for me, and you blew it. So fuck you. Next up on the card, we have Diego Lopes versus Sodiq Yusuff. And look, I took a chance on Sodiq Yusuff, but I should have known. I said Sodiq Yusuff by either 3rd round KO or unanimous decision. He goes out there and gets finished in the first 2 minutes of the first round. Let's just get this out of the way now. Diego Lopes has got to be my favorite rising prospect right now, hands down. And I've been hip to Diego Lopes for a fat minute right now. I even have him listed on my prospects to look out for in 2024 video I made way back when. Diego Lopes is the freaking truth. Absolutely wipes the floor with Sodiq Yusuff. He lands an uppercut that brutally chins him badly. Sodiq Yusuff is buzzed right now and is trying to scramble and look for something to grab onto. He gets hit with another uppercut that flattens him out and ends up getting him TKO'd. And man, we need to see Diego Lopes against a ranked contender. I think it's time. I'm pretty sure he called out that Dagestani rat in Mavzar Evloyev during his post-fight speech. And shit, you might as well just make that happen, because I feel like that fight has the potential to be an absolute banger if Diego Lopes can somehow keep this on the feet. But I high-key want to see this being made at the Sphere. Dana White, make this shit happen right now. Oh yeah, how did this fight not get performance of the night? That's crazy. But anyway, next up we have Holm versus Kyla Harrison. And I had Kyla Harrison by 2nd round submission. And she goes out there and wins by 2nd round submission. Impeccable pick by yours truly. But as for the fight, man, Holm looks old. She is 42 years of age. She's the oldest athlete that was on this card. And I honestly thought that she should have retired after the fight, man, because she just looked out of it. Kyla Harrison ragdolled her from start to finish. And man, when I tell you, Kyla Harrison is an absolute dog. What a UFC debut. She's most likely gonna fight for the title in her next few fights. And I think it's only right, because the women's bantamweight division is absolutely disgusting, especially with the current champion Raquel Pennington. They need to absolutely cleanse that women's bantamweight division. Moving up on the card, we have Aljamain Sterling versus Calvin Kattar. And I had Aljamain Sterling winning by unanimous decision, and he goes out there and wins by unanimous decision. And holy hell, what a sleeper. Like a legitimate fucking sleeper. Like, I was literally sleeping during this fight. But it was an overall great performance on Aljo's part, who's making his featherweight debut. He kind of went out there and sunned Calvin Kattar in the ground department, but at the same time, you kind of have to take into account that Calvin Kattar is coming off of a 2-year layoff. Nothing much to talk about for this fight. It kind of was a stinker. Next up on the card, we have one of my favorite fights from UFC 300, that being Yuri Prochazka versus Alexander Rakic. And I had Yuri Prochazka winning by either 2nd round KO or unanimous decision. And man, picking Yuri is always such a gamble, but he came through this time, yo. Because initially, when making my picks for this fight, I was super hesitant on picking Yuri, because I knew Yuri wasn't going to go out there and do something that we've seen before. Every time we've seen Yuri Prochazka, it's always something new, which also makes him one of the most exciting fighters on the roster. The first fight was a tough one. Yuri's legs were getting absolutely chewed out by Rakic, and I'd probably give Alexander the first round. But during the second round, we see Yuri spark Alexander badly with a right. And we see Yuri absolutely rev up his engine, starts throwing everything in his arsenal, hurts Rakic badly. Rakic tries to clinch up with him and grab a hold of Yuri. Yuri tells him to get the fuck off of him and then throws him on the canvas, starts swarming him with ground and pound, absolutely winning himself the fight. And look, I specified this immensely in the breakdown. I said that Yuri's unorthodox fighting style is both his greatest asset as well as his Achilles heel, but once it starts to work in his favor, it's gonna be lights out. Next up on the card, we have the main event curtain jerker in Bo, the Average Joe, Nickal versus Cody Brundage. And I had Bo Nickal by either 1st or 2nd round submission, and he goes out there and takes it by 2nd round rear naked choke. And look, if you ask me, I honestly think Bo Nickal got fraud checked in his fight with Cody Brundage. And I know this is only his 4th professional fight in the UFC, but at the same time, wasn't this the same guy who was talking about how he would absolutely wipe the floor with Khamzat Chimaev? Wasn't he the same one that said that if him and Khamzat were to step foot in an octagon, he would make him his chew toy? Well, after that performance against Cody Brundage, I honestly think that bro was legitimately just talking shit out of his ass. And look, this might come off as backhanded, but I think the performance was phenomenal. but at the same time, this is Cody Brundage we're talking about. Realistically, Khamzat Chimaev would have had Cody Brundage out of there within the first 2 minutes of the first round, bar none. And the fact that Bo struggled against Cody Brundage makes me look at him sideways. And, you know, I know he's a new guy on the scene and everything, but you can't just sit on a podcast and say that you would dog the fuck out of Khamzat. You would steamroll Strickland and you would mop the floor with Dricus du Plessis and then have a competitive and contentious fight with Cody Brundage. Like, get out of here, dude. Bo Nickal, pack it up. You got exposed. Stop calling out Khamzat Chimaev and fight some guys who aren't cans. End of discussion. Moving on to the next fight, we have Charles do Bronx Oliveira versus Arman Tsarukyan. And oh my god, this one almost made me bite the freaking curb. I had Charles by second round KO and he lost by split decision. And man, oh man, this one killed me. And at the end of the fight, I was on Twitter and I saw that a lot of people in the MMA community thought that it was a robbery. And let me tell you, I'm one of the biggest Charles fans you'll ever meet. And I think Charles wholeheartedly lost that fight. During the first round, I believe Arman went for a kick and then slipped. Then we see Charles hesitate, but then also continue to jump on the guillotine, which was insanely tight. And I thought that Arman had it, but then, you know, obviously Arman warriored himself out of there, then reversed Charles, then got on top and then started to land some ground and pound. And in my breakdown for this fight, I specified that Arman Tsarukyan's ground and pound is lethal and is probably one of the greatest and most dangerous assets in Arman Tsarukyan's arsenal. So I knew if he managed to break out of Charles Oliveira's guard, it would have been very, very dangerous for Charles from then on out. And then there was an up kick thrown by Charles, but Arman seemed to be good. So overall, I'd probably give the first round to Charles because of the overall volume he put and as well as that really close guillotine that he almost landed in the first round as well. The second round starts and Charles Oliveira is getting pieced on the stand-up. He's getting tagged. And then there's a moment where Arman Tsarukyan throws an absolutely beautiful and majestic axe kick that grazes Charles Oliveira on the face. Right after, he shoots for a takedown where he just starts to absolutely clobber Charles Oliveira on the ground with the ground and pound. And I did specify this before in my video breaking down the fight between Charles and Arman. I said that Arman's ground game is insanely underrated, and that ground and pound is going to be something that Charles has to look out for 1000%. This was a clear second round dub for Arman Tsarukyan. Now in the third, Arman Tsarukyan is continuing to light Charles up on the feet until they get into the ground, where the majority of the time Arman Tsarukyan is dominating and controlling Charles. As Charles scrambles, he finds a darts, which I think was insanely tight, but it doesn't manage to get the job done, man. And dude, I think this fight should have been 5 rounds. And I personally think that if we had those 2 extra rounds of time to work, we could have seen Charles Oliveira inevitably find the choke and get the job done. But shoulda, coulda, woulda, they gave the split decision to Arman Tsarukyan. What's done is done. But overall, really great win for Arman Tsarukyan. He really showcased his repertoire during this fight and took the dub against the former champion in Charles do Bronx. And I might end up making a what's next video for Arman Tsarukyan because I honestly think the next stop for him is an inevitable title shot against Islam Makhachev. And I'm guessing Abu Dhabi, since it was just announced that Islam and Dustin Soyboy are fighting on June 1st. So maybe Arman gets winner? Because at the end of the day, we cannot lose hope because Charles Oliveira, Charles do Bronx, is going to end up coming back faster, stronger, and more ready to win. Moving up on the card, we have Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway for that BMF championship. And man, oh man, this fight really and truly showed who the realest and the baddest motherfucker is in the UFC. I had Justin Gaethje by either 3rd or 4th round TKO or unanimous decision, but I was certainly mistaken because Max Holloway goes out there and sleeps Justin Gaethje and hits a buzzer beater 2 seconds before the clock ended. Absolutely insane. And looking back, no one could have expected this coming. Like, yes, Max Holloway had substantial amount of time to put on weight for this fight, and he was coming in here as a pure lightweight. But at the same time, I thought that the power differential was going to be too great. So look, the first round was a back and forth between both Max Holloway and Justin Gaethje, but I'd probably give it to Max Holloway because of the amount of volume and accuracy, as well as the pressure he was putting on Justin Gaethje. But the shot that turned the tables, the shot that pointed out and spelled doom for Justin Gaethje was that spinning back kick thrown by Max Holloway that broke Justin Gaethje's nose at the last second of the first round. That spinning back kick killed Justin Gaethje's momentum from here on out, and to put it in different terms, it's kind of like playing an RPG type video game where you and your opponent are both at full HP. You hit your opponent with a bleed effect skill which constantly saps 5% HP from your opponent every 2 seconds. That's how I viewed this fight after the nose break, because after then, every shot that Max Holloway would take in the middle of Justin Gaethje's face, dude, he would have the most insane reaction. Like, that was brutal. Like, that nose break was brutal. Fast forward to the end of the fight, and I have Max Holloway up 4-1 on the scorecards. The 10-second clicker goes off, and you see Max Holloway point in the middle of the cage, Ricardo Lemo style. Justin Gaethje agrees, and then we just see them start swinging. They start brawling. Barn burner brawl type style, and oh my god, this is what I wanted since the first video on my channel. I wanted to see Max Holloway and Justin Gaethje go out there and just put their lives on the line. I wanted to see them lose brain cells for a fight like this, and it's apparent that Justin Gaethje's on his last legs with Max Holloway with a lot more HP. All of a sudden, with 2 seconds on the clock, we just see a 1-2 body shot combo into an overhand finishing strike, slumping Justin Gaethje out cold, flatlining him. Oh my god. Oh my god. Stand and bang. This fucking brawl. Oh my god. Bing. Hold on. Bing. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh. I legitimately couldn't believe my eyes. What an outstanding performance from Max Holloway. Absolutely superb. He gambled on this. He gambled on himself, with basically 65% of the MMA community having him losing badly against Justin Gaethje, as well as myself. And then he goes out there and puts an absolute masterclass with a prospect of the KO of the year on top of it. Absolutely insane. This has opened up massive doors for Max Holloway, man, because he can damn near just stay at the lightweight division and try to fight Islam Makhachev for that belt, or he can go back down to featherweight and fight Ilia Topuria. But in my honest opinion, I think he should go back down and fight Ilia Topuria, because if he's given both option A and option B, option A going back down to featherweight and fighting Ilia, or option B, staying at the lightweight division and fighting Islam, I think he's gonna have an easier time going with that option A and going back there and fighting Ilia Topuria. But the thing is, I still don't see him winning in a fight against him and Ilia Topuria, because here's the thing, I've been saying this before Ilia even became champ. If there's anybody in the featherweight division that can go out there and shatter Max Holloway's granite chin, it's Ilia Topuria, hands down, no questions about it. But we'll just have to wait and see. So instead of waiting for Alexander Volkanovski to recover from his chin getting absolutely taken by Ilia Topuria, let's feed Max Holloway to Ilia in the meantime. Moving up on the card, we have Zhang Weili versus Yang Xiaonan, and I had Zhang Weili by unanimous decision, and she won by unanimous decision. In the first round, we saw Zhang Weili lighting up Yang Xiaonan on the feet, which made her shoot, which in turn made Zhang Weili reverse her and put her in a sub. Zhang Weili put Yang Xiaonan to sleep. Yes, she put her to sleep. It lasted for a millisecond before the fight ended, and the ref let them continue. During the second round, we just see Zhang Weili beating the mess out of Yang Xiaonan, and I almost thought this could have been classified as a TKO, because Weili was just on her ass raining down shots for a good minute without any type of fight back, but she survived. Fast forward to the fifth round, and Zhang Weili is just controlling her the entire time. Though it was a very uneventful fifth round, Zhang Weili inevitably takes this dub at the end of the day, and I honestly think this was a very good win for Zhang Weili, and I personally enjoyed this fight a lot, and I kind of did shit on it the first time it was announced, but it was a very, very entertaining fight. Next up, and last but not least, we have the main event in Alex Poatan Pereira versus Jamal Sweet Dreams Hill. I bet on Alex Pereira getting this done by second round KO, and he gets it done by first round TKO. What an absolute monster Alex Poatan Pereira is, man. Holy shit. Then goes out there and tells Jamal Hill to have sweet dreams, then puts him to bed with the signature left hook, then emotes on him with the Kobe Lane pose afterward. Absolute mad lad. The first round was decent, with a little back and forth from both guys, but Alex Pereira with the obvious forward pressure. Then Jamal Hill goes for a body shot that went low, Herb Dean tries to press the pause button of the fight when Alex Pereira pushes him away and clicks resume on the fight. They touch gloves when you see Alex Pereira blitz forward into a right feint left hook. And I think that's what people aren't seeing when watching this fight back. If you look closely, you can see Alex Pereira stepping on Jamahal Hill's lead leg in order to immobilize him. Then he grabs the lead arm, feints the right two into the signature left hook that didn't even look like a hook. Alex Pereira kind of dug it to a point where it kind of looked like an uppercut to the face that didn't even land flush. Insanely superb performance by an insanely monstrous KO by Alex Pereira. And this just goes to show why he was listed at #1 on my aura tier list, because this man just outright has aura. Jamahal Hill is the 5th slain champion on this guy's resume, and not only did he do it the quickest, but had the most style points with the post-knockout emote afterward. Absolutely legendary. And this also just goes to show that you should never bet on fighters coming back from brutal injuries. But at the same time, injury or not, Alex Pereira would have bulldozed through Jamahal Hill badly anyway. And if he can keep this up, he can be in contention for greatest of all time, 1000%. And what an end to another Alex Pereira storyline. He got revenge for his coach in Glover Teixeira after Jamahal Hill beat Glover back in 2023. And now Alex is talking about going up and fighting at heavyweight. The first thing I heard when I heard that bullshit was, slow your roll there, buddy. You've only got one title defense in the light heavyweight division. Go fight Magomed Ankalaev in May on the 301 card in Brazil. Save that card, fight Magomed, beat him, and then we can talk about your ass going up in heavyweight. But for now, stay your ass at light heavyweight. You're doing so well. But yeah, that basically wraps up my critical retrospective for UFC 300. I went 8 for 5 on picks, lost $300, and my 13-leg parlay got busted before the main event could even start. An overall superb card from the bottom to the top, to the top to the bottom, you name it, it did it. And this was one that people were shitting on, and it ended up following through. It would have been a little nice to have a bit more personality on the card, like Colby Covington versus Ian Gary maybe, but I've got a video planned for them very soon. But that wraps up the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.